Welcome to Sports Spectrum, the sports and faith podcast that brings Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
This episode of the Sports Spectrum podcast is brought to you by Compassion International. We love having them as partners here at Sports Spectrum, the most trusted child development ministry in the world. Your chance to partner with Compassion and sponsor a child and release them from poverty. It's $38 a month, the best $38 you'll spend every single month. Food, education, medical care, vocational training. It's all done in Jesus' name, and it releases children from poverty and gives them hope. Go to compassion.com/sportsspectrum, compassion.com/sportsspectrum, and sponsor a child today. Today's guest on the podcast is Rodney Smith Jr. He is the creator of a ministry called Raising Men Lawn Care Service. And this podcast doesn't have much to do with sports. This is a kid who went to college and came from Bermuda, and he had a dream, and that dream got deterred a little bit when another dream started in terms of him helping others, serving others, and living out his faith every single day through a lawnmower service, where he travels across the country to mow lawns for the elderly, to mow lawns for those people in need, to mow lawns for people who served in our armed forces. He just wants to give back. And he's also started this really cool challenge, a 50-yard challenge for children across the country to mow 50 lawns in their area. Rodney Smith Jr. is his name. The website's weareraisingmen.com. And he's really doing a great thing. And I just wanted to spend some time talking to him and learning about his ministry. The interview, if you listen, some of the audio is a little low. I'm trying to bump it up and do some edits here in post-production, but it's still a little low, so bear with us. But I think, you'll get the point on Rodney being this very humble young man who doesn't even want any of the glory. He wants God to get all the glory. But it's a really neat thing that he's doing. You might have heard about him. He was all over the country last year mowing lawns, and stories were being done on him from all the national news outlets. And I just thought, let's get him on the podcast and let's learn a little bit more about his journey. So here's Rodney Smith Jr. from Raising Men Lawn Care Service on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Welcome to the show, Rodney.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, Rodney. It kind of started this lawn mowing thing and taking on a life of its own over the past year or so. But before we talk about that, share with us kind of what life was like for you growing up as a kid in your native Bermuda.
Just a regular kid, One thing for sure is I didn't like mowing lawns when I was a kid, but I just grew up regular, Mom and dad in the house. I used to mow lawns as a chore.
Yeah.
And I brought up in Bermuda. Then I went to finish my last 2 years of high school in New York. And then ever since I've been in the United States.
Okay. And now
college.
Home is for you in Alabama?
Yep, Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay, so that's quite the different, environment than New York, certainly, and also in Bermuda. So what took you to Alabama?
I had some family here. When I first finished high school, I went to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I attended ITT Tech, but, I was there for about 6 months, and those 6 months, I didn't really like it. So that's when I packed up and went back home to Bermuda. Then I decided to go to Alabama, because I had some family out there.
Tell me about sports. This is a sports podcast as well.
Yeah.
Is sports a part of your life? Are you a sport? Did you play sports? Do you love watching sports? Tell us about sports.
Well, in Bermuda, we call it football. Out in America, you call it soccer, but that's one of the sports I mainly done.
Yeah.
I played football. I played basketball in New York. I also used to do track and field as well. Those are the three main sports I took part in, and I really enjoyed it. Those are the things I love to do.
Is this something that you still play a little bit today on the side when you get a chance?
No, I don't have that much time anymore. But when I first came to Alabama, I joined the adult soccer league Then once this mowing thing started taking over, I put that to the side and just start mowing.
Tell me about your faith before we start talk about the lawnmower service.
hmm
Your faith in God, when did that become sort of a priority for you in your life?
I guess you could say once I finished high school, because when I went to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was going through a rough time, I just didn't like it. That's when I had a one-on-one conversation with God, and that conversation kind of changed everything, and it made me believe that I believed in God before, but to see Him actually do His work is kind of amazing. Because you just say, God, use me as your vessel, and He's not gonna give you an answer right then and there. He's gonna give you an answer when the time is right. And when the time was right was when I came across the elderly man, which eventually changed my whole entire life.
Was faith a part of your life growing up as a kid? Was
Yeah, I used
Jesus
to
a
go.
part of the life? Go to church
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff? Yeah.
I used to go to church and stuff with the family, and really, literally every weekend we was at church.
Rodney Smith Jr. is our guest here on Sports Spectrum's podcast. I want to talk about the service, the lawn mowing service. When did that become an idea for you? You mentioned the elderly man. Tell me about the first time that this even became a thing.
I came up with a thing when I came across the elderly man outside mowing his lawn. But like I said before, I was in ITT Tech, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, when I first finished high school, and I didn't like it during my time in IT Tech, and that's when I had a one-on-one conversation with God, and I asked Him to use me as His vessel. He didn't give me an answer that day. Then a month later, not even a few years later, not even 2 years later. It happened a few years later, when I was in my senior year of college, getting my bachelor's in computer science. That's when I came across the elderly man outside mowing his lawn, and it looked like he was struggling. So I pulled over and helped him out, and that night I decided I'd start mowing free lawns for the elderly, disabled, single moms and veterans right here in Huntsville, Alabama. That one small act of kindness blossomed into a whole foundation. And we have kids around the nation, almost 325, doing the same thing as me in our 50-yard challenge.
Isn't that interesting how one act of obedience to God can set in motion something that could be beyond anyone's imagination in how that happened with you? Isn't that crazy how that happens?
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, and just it's when I look back at it now, I see that everything he had was already planned out. He already knew my destination, what I was supposed to do. He showed me what my purpose in life was, and just to see how it all unfolded is kind of amazing, because I started the program, and then I started mowing lawns, and the foundation came after. Then the idea of going to all 50 states and mowing lawns and doing that 4 times already, so it's kind of amazing how it worked out. Everything is part of His plan.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder for you, Rodney, because obviously you're not getting paid for this and you're doing this for, out of the act of your goodness of your heart and in obedience to God. But
Yeah.
how has the reaction been, or I guess that's not the right question. What was your reaction when it started getting media coverage, both locally and then nationally, and you turn on NBC or CBS or Fox or any of these networks, and there's Rodney Smith Jr. and you're the lawn mowing guy? What is your reaction to that kind of taking off on its own?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, but like I said in an interview before, while I notice what I'm doing, at the same time I don't notice. It's like you have a horse and a race, and in order to keep that horse focused in that race so he can keep going straight, is he has those blinders on the side of his eyes so he can see what's in front of him, not on the side of him, because if he looks on the side, he's gonna get distracted. So I believe what God has done with me, He done the same thing. He gave me these blinders to keep me focused on the goal. While I know what I'm doing, it's making a difference. I don't see the big goal. I mean, the big significance. People saying, "Oh, you're doing such a great thing," and I see it, but I'm just so focused on God's work and trying to do His work that I don't see the huge impact as what others see.
I think that's good, but I also
Yeah,
think, taking a step back and like you said, I can think looking back and seeing all that's transpired is also a pretty cool testimony that you can do on interviews like this on the podcast here. How do you get paid though? Like, how are you able to sustain, a living? Is this ministry becoming something that you're able to kind of allow yourself to be your full-time job and to sustain you financially?
Oh, no, not yet. Right now, I'm staying in my dad's house here in Huntsville, Alabama. So I'm able to live rent free and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I'm thankful for that, because without him, I won't be able to do it. But once the organization gets up to a level that I think it's like a big brothers and big sisters, then I might take a small salary. But for right now, I'm just focused on getting the foundation up and off the ground. Trying to get more kids involved, because right now we have about 325 kids nationwide, and by this summer, I would like to see 400 kids in the program taking part in our 50-yard challenge. Our 50-yard challenge I think it's what's really pushes us and gets people involved in the program. They see kids getting out there and making a difference.
How do you even find lawns to mow, Rodney? How do those come about? Social media, the key place for that?
Yeah, so when I first started out, I used like Facebook yard sale sites, and I just told them what I was doing. I'm mowing free lawns. If you know anyone elderly, disabled, single mom, or veteran, please let me know, and I'll come by and do the lawn. And that's how it all started for me, getting lawns. And once I start taking things on the show, once I start doing stuff on the road, like going to different states, I just made a post on social media. Like, for example, let's say I'm going to Washington or Virginia. I will stop at the state sign and take a picture and say, "Hello, Virginia. I'm going to be in this city tomorrow. I'm doing free loan for the elderly, disabled, single moms, and veterans. If you know anyone, just send me a message and I'll go by and mow the lawn." So social media has played a huge part in it.
How many miles you put on a car trying to go across the country and mow 50 lawns? That's got to be quite a bit.
Yeah, it has been quite a bit. On the first, so I done it 4 times already. My first time, I used my dad's car. I put about 12,000, 13,000 miles on it, and then that was in 2017 when my first time. Then in the car that I have right now, I done it 3 times. So I done it in 2018 during the summer, but that time it took me longer because I was staying in each state a complete day. My first time around, I just doing 1 lawn per state and just keeping it moving 2 or 3 states a day. But my second time, I was staying in a state for a complete day, and that racked up a lot of miles. So it was about 15,000 that time. And the third time, I was doing probably one lawn per state. So that's about another 13,000 miles or so. And then the fourth time was when I went around dressed as Santa Claus giving gifts to the homeless. So that was another 13,000 miles on it. So right now, I recently just passed 100,000 miles in this car since having it. And I just got this car last May before my second nationwide tour. So 100,000 miles in less than a year.
That's a lot of miles in a car.
Yeah.
Tell me something, Rodney. How has God shown you his love and grace during this whole endeavor? Like, maybe there's a story or just some kind of obvious way that God has shown you his love through your service to all these other people?
No, he just showed me that, he's using me by, the kids that get involved in the program. There's one kid by the name of Wesley. He's out in Michigan. And his mom was telling me that before he even got in this program, he was a shy, quiet kid. He kept to himself. And ever since joining the program, he is opened right up. He's more social. And it's just amazing see kids just get out there and mow the lawns. Just by seeing me mowing lawns and seeing the impact it's having in my community. I would have never thought of something like this could happen. Because like I said before, when I was younger, I disliked mowing lawns. And I'm sure a lot of kids today, they'd rather be inside playing video games. But there's a bunch of them that want to get out there and want to make a difference. And I'm seeing that and I'm hearing that from all the parents who have kids joining up in the program. And I just hope this continues and more kids, take part, and seeing that with a lawnmower, they too can make a difference one lawn at a time in their community as well.
Rodney, if somebody wants to join this movement, you said 325 kids are a part of it. If those listening have a kid that wants to be a part of it, what's the best way to do that? Is there a website?
Yeah, we are raisingmen.com, and just because it's called Raising Men, it doesn't mean we don't accept the young ladies. We do accept the young ladies, and when the young ladies join, they get a Raising Women t-shirt. So we're trying to get boys and girls involved in the movement and getting out there and making a difference. So it's a beautiful thing to see when boys and girls join up in the program and out there making a difference.
Yeah, I love it. It's both boys and girls. WeAreRaisingMen.com is the website. So what's next? I think you have a 2019 goal that's a little more ambitious, shall we say, from the last few years? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so 7 continents, 7 lawns. That's 2019, but I got something else before that coming up. So this is a surprise. I haven't announced it yet or anything. So I'm still working out the fine details in this up and coming project, which I think people can relate to, and they will see how special this is going to be. And then once I get done with that, I will, work on 7 continents, 7 lawns, and that's going to be a journey in itself. And then we're trying to get kids around the world out there mowing. It's not just a need here in the United States of America; it's a need in different parts of the world. I have people in Australia that said they wish they had this service there. Japan. I have people in Germany saying they want to see a Raising Men lawn care service out there. So, it's a need all over. So the goal is to get chapters nationwide and eventually worldwide.
I think it's awesome what you're doing, man. I really do. And again, the website is weareRaisingMen.com. And for that little surprise that Rodney's going to share soon, give him a follow on Twitter. I am Rodney Smith is his Twitter handle. Rodney, last question. What are you learning from God right now? What is he teaching you in the life and the season that you're in right now? As you're kind of in a waiting mode, but yet you're still out there serving and doing so many great things. What is God teaching you right now?
One thing he's teaching me, like if you do God's work, everything will work out. Because when I first started out, I was in my senior year in high school. I was using money that my mom and dad would send me to get like gas and stuff for my house and groceries, and I was using that money to go put it in a lawnmower, get gas for a lawnmower and to drive around, and just to see how he works. I said, God just used me, and He used me, and He made a way. He's given me everything I need to get by and to do what I'm doing today, to be able to travel. Like before I had this car that I had now, I was just driving a small car. Then some of the people that were following me on Facebook, they came together and they raised money to get me an SUV, which just allowed me to travel around America and to mow lawns and to give out gifts. If I didn't have this car, I would not be able to do it, So if you do God's work, He will provide for you.
Yeah, and you're a living example of that. Rodney Smith Jr., thanks for being here on the podcast. Again, the website is weareRaisingMen.com. Wish you nothing but the best, my friend. We'll be staying tuned for the announcement, and God bless you.
Thank you.
And many thanks to Rodney Smith Jr. for joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. A different type of interview than we've done before. Not a whole lot of sports in there, but I just thought his ministry is so good and so important in terms of giving back, in terms of helping young men and helping young ladies, kids, serve others in need. Such a cool thing. His motto is making a difference one lawn at a time. And I really just wanted to give him some time here on the podcast to share his story and his journey. Rodney Smith Jr., check out his Twitter handle, I am Rodney Smith, and his website, weareRaisingMen.com. I really like that website name, weareRaisingMen.com. He is the founder of Raising Men Lawn Care Service, providing free lawn care to the elderly, disabled, single moms, and veterans. Great stuff there. Thanks, Rodney, for all you're doing to serve God and to serve others. And many thanks for being here on the podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode. We want to thank our partners, Compassion International, for sponsoring this podcast. $38 a month releases a child from poverty. Another way you can give back, another way you can serve and help others, providing children who are in need of the basic necessities, food, education, medical care, and vocational training. You can make that difference by releasing them from poverty. Go to compassion.com/sportsspectrum. Sponsor a child today. Thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. We'll see you next time with a brand new episode. This is the Sports Spectrum Podcast. Have a great rest of your day.